Hello again and welcome. Yep, welcome back. Here we are. I've made some changes. Like I say, I think every stream we do now, just seems to get better and better. And today is no different. I figured out this multi-boards option in Magma. I knew these existed, but hadn't quite thought of the implications or how to use them like this yet. But I think this is a pretty good start on. This is my concept of sort of a concept art tree where we kind of cluster concept art together, you know, into the same concept, and that's how we make sort of a creative universe. You can see we kind of started with this one was the one that really started it all. Just this kind of porcelain like identifier or whatever that is. Slowly drew more of these weird machines, and at some point along the way I also made this preliminary, which I haven't finished yet, which I haven't made a full painting out of quite yet, but I think it tells you everything you need to know. That preliminary does already. I also had to go at some kind of spacey characters at some point, so we'll have to explore them a little more. And that's probably what will go in this grey square, is something with these guys in an actual environment, you know, doing something, maybe just casually walking or something like that, something simple. And we'll, you know, slowly build this tree down until we've got, you know, just a vast universe, really, creative universe that any, you know, piece of media could be made out of. And that's kind of, you know, the concept, the 2D concept. Visual arts comes first in our process on here, in our workflow. Anything that comes out of that, but we are visual artists, and that's kind of where I think we should ground that in this channel. You know, making just smaller concepts and bunching those together more and more until they become excuse me, that's my phone going off. Until they become, you know, just something larger than the individual pieces of concept artwork can be. You know, you start tying them together in theme and get your ideas grounded. So yeah, that's the history, and that's our new tree that we can now see. And I can paint on this as you know, and still have all of this concept work around, which is not only just a massive source of self-efficacy, but a massive source of kind of reference too, I suppose. And style cues. Right. So last time we left, we did a few things. We made the floor look more round. I think we made this a little bit more detailed, and we started adding these tiles on more, and growing them out. So we're going to continue with that. And I gotta say, this is one of those paintings that even offline I've spent a long time just looking at it and thinking where to go next. Very excited about this painting, and very proud of myself for how far it's come so far. I really think it's gonna be a good one. Okay, so no point being around the bush. I also got it so on the stream you can see my mouse cursor all the time, which much better, and I made it obviously a much bigger, more noticeable mouse cursor. So now when I'm circling something, it's not just, I mean, if you look at the brush, you see that's all we had is that round circle before, and as you zoom out that gets smaller and smaller, and it was like I couldn't point things out on stream, so we've got that. It's a bit more movement too, isn't it? Anyway, like I said, enough dilly-dallying. Let's get down to business, and I think the first order of business I wanted to do was spread out the plan for this kind of rounded metal steel border on this window light. Oh, I don't know what we copied there. Something blue. Oh, it's different. I see. Yeah, I just got my keys mixed up. There we go. A little bit of rust today. I've just come off working shifts, and I've got another one tonight, so kind of sneaking this one in between my responsibilities. I'm more than happy to, because I am very excited and invested in the finishing of this work, this piece of work. Sometimes I do wish, like I've said before, but I used to have my graphics tablet. It would only control like a small square like this. And I do sometimes wonder if I should go back to that, because this definitely is not good for your, having it cover the entire monitor. It's not good for your carpals or your carpal tunnel. So it's quite bad for your hand really, because you're doing tiny little movements. So I feel like it's much worse for your hands. Much worse for mine anyway. Okay. So now we can sort of see where the top and bottom of these are going to be a little easier. And also when we left last time, we'd gone from painting these by painting circles and then filling them in. We'd gone to a technique that I thought might be a bit more efficient, and actually seems to be a bit easier to scale, because I think that makes them look too small sometimes by default. We just do, you know, a different part of them. We don't do a big, because that's not going to be in the final image anyway. They're not going to be completely surrounded by a dark circle like that. So I'm just going with the highlights first. It's a bit hard to understand when you first see it, but all should be revealed as I continue this pattern. They should be level though, so I'll lift this one up a bit. Something a bit like that, and then we grab the darks. And we're gonna just do these, you know, right in the little gaps where there would be, right? This way we're kind of doing it's more efficient because you're using a few less brush strokes basically, and you're not doing any brush strokes that aren't going to be in the final pattern basically. Don't know how well of a job I'm doing at it though. It's looking a bit lopsided. Might have done these tiles too big even, considering I did the other ones too small. A bit ironic. And we do want to go through this. This is translucent, this green piece of glass is, so we do want to be going through there as well. Some more of the darks, them in these little gaps. Yeah, that does make some really nice tiles. Just want to really get some darkness in those gaps now. Them to be a bit more regular as well, and even if we can, once we're doing a second pass. Really is just deep in these gaps where you're going to get these darker values. I might not even let it get as dark as I've kind of made it, because we want a bit of fog on the ship, a bit of air perspective, so things in the background aren't going to get to go quite so dark. And yeah, I think I have overdone it just a little bit on that value. Yeah, you just want to always be aware of when you've done something that is now the darkest or brightest, almost saturated thing in the piece. I don't know what I just did. I changed to the colour picker by accident. one needs a darker inside, I think. A few of these. A bit more of that blue. And we'll do like a bit of a colour abstraction pass on these as well. I think most things will probably get that sort of pass these days. Let's remind ourselves that we're going to be able to see what's behind this glass anyway. These tiles are going to continue. But everything's going to be green. Everything's got to have a green haze behind the glass. Something a bit like that, maybe? I don't think so. Should probably trickle it in from the edges over here. Might find a bit more success. Quite tricky this actually. Just kind of using some colours that are already in there, and I think I'm getting a bit of success with that. Yeah, so that's working out. Looking more and more translucent as we go. Still in its very early stages. Damn it. For the picker bug. Yeah, they've definitely gotten a bit too big over there. Cut them down in size slightly. A lot of pulling and pushing and making these tiles, I've noticed, especially with the scaling of them. A lot of them having been drawn too big and being made smaller, and vice versa. So you have to kind of learn how to kind of paint like a liquify brush, you know. Shuffle things around with the paint. Okay, I think that's the best effect we're getting now. Yeah, we're spreading them. It's interesting spreading patterns like this because the older ones will always is slightly different, and it's like they slowly, the way it spreads across the geography of the canvas, I quite like. The things on the edges will always be the least finished, and the things in the middle will always be the most finished, or not always, but most of the time, you know. Alright then. Just doing a few bits of circles. Figure out where these dark spots are going to go. Just a little hint of them, you know, where the cracks are going to be. Really is a hexagon pattern, isn't it? That heart. See how painting can be so easy and organic. It's just sometimes it's time consuming as well, you know. Slowly putting each little bit in. It's the same with, like, you know, some other artistic things that I've done. Like even like crochet is probably the worst for it. You know, you spend so many hours, or especially if you're very slow like I am, you spend many hours and when you make a small piece of material or a small thing. That's just part of art, and that's the real thing that actually, you know, makes a lot of people not want to be artists, you know. It's one of the big caveats. Art takes time. It's hard for some people to, including myself, to accept that fact. And if you find it difficult to accept that fact, you're gonna find it difficult to finish. You'll find it still easy to start stuff, but you won't be able to finish things very easily. So you just keep moving on to the next thing, you know. It's kind of something that I'm torn between on my on this channel and, you know, on my concept art as well, because, you know, there's stuff like this where it's a preliminary but it does the job of concept art, and I'd like to make it into a full painting, but you know, that's somewhere where maybe you could, you know, there's no rigid rules in art that you have to finish things to a super high standard. Just maybe just showing the idea, you know, two ships attacking each other, you can see everything. You know, how much does it add to make this preliminary of these two ships attacking, you know, way more details, when as soon as I zoom out, you wouldn't notice, right? You wouldn't know either way. It's the same with this, you know. What's my incentive to even finish it? Sometimes I question that. But, I guess my current incentive is because the piece of art kind of has value in itself, more than just a piece of concept art. You know, I mean, there's the obvious one where I could sell prints of this, but couldn't do that if I left it half finished, right? And it's nice to just have, you know, a portfolio of finished works. You know, like I say, I struggle with it. I still struggle with the motivation to finish my visual arts projects. The longer they are, the tougher that is, really. And that is because of this core philosophical struggle to kind of justify finishing things. For me, there needs to be such a rigid reason for everything that I do. Check my phone one sec. Back to the tiles. See if we can add a bit more saturation on them. It's interesting to think this is really what a lot of my live streaming is going to be as well. So this is most of painting, right? When I do live stream, you know, it's not just this. It's you know, I can do things that are much faster and more demanding. Like that's the other. This is the other reason for the dilemma, really. I can do things like just making preliminaries. I feel like, I don't know, because it comes down to the reasons why people would watch a stream like this, which I think are really to kind of relax anyway. But in my head, you know, something makes me want to do, you know, the faster things, the preliminaries, and, you know what I mean? It's just makes, for me, it feels like it would make for a more interesting stream, you know, to do loads of half-finished art rather than, because this takes 15 minutes, so I could do, well, I mean, really, it's 15 minutes plus 15 minutes of faffing around for me. So what I could do 2 of these, let's say, in a 1 hour stream. And in a 1 hour stream for this, I can fill in some tiles, you know. So you're watching me do 2 entire paintings, exploring 2 entire ideas, versus, and this is, because this is so large, this, you know, mathematically is going to take up the bulk of my streams. It's going to be doing the tedious stuff like these tiles. So that's the 90% of the job. These are done so fast that, you know, it's impossible for me to just be doing loads, and I will be doing loads of these, loads more preliminaries than final paintings, but still, because final paintings take, you know, upwards of 20 hours, where a preliminary takes 15 minutes, the maths just works out that I'm going to be, you know, at least 50% of my time is going to be on full works instead of on preliminaries, which is interesting to me. You know, because I think about, you know, what if I went for a channel where I did just do the preliminaries, but I don't think that would be very satisfying for people to never get to see the finished paintings. It certainly wouldn't be very satisfying for my portfolio, or for, you know, if I had any hopes of selling prints. Artist dilemmas, man. Damn it. It does that so often. Need them to change it. It changes you to colour picker permanently because you tap the key for very slightly not long enough for it to only pop out, instead it goes permanent. The pattern kind of breaks a bit here. These circles, what they're meant to be doing is kind of intermeshing with each other, and stop doing that one thing right there. I need to kind of bend them about so that they do that again. Lift this one up. Basically, this one. Shove this one right into there. Maybe this is going to cascade and I'm going to need to redo all of it. We'll see. Sure, I can kind of subtly undulate everything back to a place that makes sense. Maybe I'll just have to use sort of a Photoshop technique to do this. Because these are one row from each other, I think what should be the case is this should be level, you know, with that sort of thing. That's how I can keep this pattern a bit more regular, actually, in general. So yeah, what I might have to do is do that, indeed. Let me just see, though, first. We need the bright part of this tile to be there, and the bright part of this tile to be more like there. Oh no. Bright part of this tile needs to be there. Need to get rid of that one even. And it's these two that need to move. They need to match these ones, really, and these ones. That's why I don't like doing these kind of mathematical repeating patterns, really. Because I've got to be so perfect, right? I don't like parts of my work having to be geometrically perfect, or proportionally perfect even. I like my work to be organic because it gives me lots of leeway to just paint naturally and comfortably, like I say, paint organically. Okay, so we've repaired that. They look right again now. Obviously, still much more work to be done, and that's the thing. As slow as it is growing these tiles, you know, this is only like the first stage of them. They all then need to be kind of painted over again and again until they're, you know, all of the small, you know, unfinished parts get finished. Trying to get it so it flexes up the wall as well, this pattern, which is what gives me kind of a little bit more of organic leeway, I suppose. Yeah, I can see that, I think. I think then maybe we should do the darker sort of centers like this, because they kind of make up the whole body of the things. And then we should do the cracks. Well, maybe that's what we should start with then, even, is the this darker blue for the body. Yeah, it definitely needs to start curving up this wall a bit more harshly than I was even doing it then. Something like that. These very darks in now. Maybe not so dark. Oh man, it is looking nice. Man, I just can't wait to see it all filled in. Even when it's only going to be a rough pass, I can't wait to see it all filled in. Really can't. Let's get this metal band on there. Keep forgetting about that, really. I don't know if I should spread it out for the whole thing. And this shadow here is really just a line too. It's quite crude. Should be more like that. Oh, you maybe. Oh my god. The way this bezel's been done, it's actually not going to change in thickness too much, depending on how you perceive it, especially with where the camera is. It's going to be a pretty even band all the way around. It's going to change in thickness a little bit at different parts due to the perspective, but it's mostly going to be a pretty similar shape the whole way around. There you go, we've got more of a band on the windows now. Like I say, that kind of comes with the shadow underneath it as well on these plates. Floor as well. Should be continuing that when we can. And we should be figuring out when we can start kind of copying and pasting this wall. I want to get just a bit more example that I can start copying and pasting. Maybe when I've got a patch here, I can copy that over to here and similar stuff. So copy and pasting is the one. I only use a few computer techniques. I use very minimum really. Copy and pasting is kind of a new one for me as well. I really very rarely use that. But I think if I'm going to be doing lots of finished paintings like this, where they're going to be very high detail, I think that, especially in the earlier sections of the painting, I think that's going to be something that's pretty invaluable really. Maybe just painting the tiles in like that is actually better, you know. You'd want to paint them bright on a dark surface really, but you know, this is just how I've done the lighting for the whole thing. I try and remember to just try to keep them going up in straight lines. This really is like the floor, isn't it? It's like exactly the same sort of pattern that we've ended up with the floor, but kind of doing different things then to differentiate it, you know. Yeah, oh my god, stop. Like the you know, the highlight on top and the cracks in the middle. The tiles are being made kind of like this. Repeating patterns, man, they're so easy. That's the thing about this kind of artwork, you know, even imaginative realism, especially with digital. You can make stuff like this, you know, a piece of cake. Look at that. It's just a simple pattern, just that grey disc, bright highlight on the top, and then all the little cracks get filled in a little bit darker. Just this geometric pattern. It's, you know, learning about these patterns and how to apply them that gives you the language of visual arts. Yeah, we're gonna do the tiles like that from now on. Let's not deny it anymore that is the best way to do it. These ones are a little bit small, maybe though. I've got to say, these tiles. Do you want to make them just a little bigger? Something more like that, I think, is more in keeping with the other tiles. And I want it to kind of arch around here, but not crazy strongly. A bit stronger than that though. If I just do one branch going up, a bit like this, I can maybe make that a bit like a centre. Build the other plates around it like that. building up this geometric pattern in the kind of most efficient way possible. Well, the most efficient way possible is going to be when we copy and paste, I think, but I don't think I'll be doing that too much. We'll see. It's too big of a gap between them two. Some of these tiles just need to get a little bit bigger, even still. Kind of like that. Nearly every time right now. Thing is, as well, I feel like when I'm painting repetitive things like this, I end up kind of getting sloppy with them. I mean, you have to, don't you, in order to paint them efficiently, but well, that's to my detriment. Really, it's hard to control. It's hard to paint like this with and I've got it's not a small tablet really, it's a big enough tablet. It's just these details are so tiny. But if you zoom in like I am now, and it looks kind of different for you guys, but for me, when I'm zoomed in like this, it's very hard to get a feel for the piece. So all I'm seeing is kind of a pattern of pixels. It's too zoomed in, and I can't relate it to say when I'm zoomed in like this, I can't see these tiles, can I, for one? So it's just ups the difficulty, all it does, and ups the hand cramp like I was saying earlier. But we're getting there, we're getting there. Again. Boy, can't wait till they had a switch in for that. Actually, it would be nice to have a switch where I could switch my board to just be in the tiny bit in the center of the screen. These details could zoom in and out and in pretty easily and paint them. Maybe I'll somehow figure out how to program that, something like that. Trying to get them to feel like they're really stuck to the wall. They need some of this blue now. And, I think that will complete the look of them for sure. Just going to need a bit more help on the cracks and on the sizing of them too. Each one gets its own little blue dot sort of thing. I don't even know what the logic was for this. It just worked well when I painted that blue dot in them. Yeah, these have got a bit more light on them, which I think is probably for the better. They're in a less kind of dark spot, but I think it might be a bit too much. It's looking good, it's looking good. Keep growing this we can. Trying to change the size of them when the geometry of the actual ship wall changes. They can kind of undulate into where they need to be, but it is quite difficult because you end up with these gaps here, where I need to connect this one and I need to connect another one that sits in that little gap there. So how do I, you know what I mean? They just have to get larger as well in order to close that gap, and that one's already quite large. But I think that's probably part of the charm of it, is I think they can change size just a little bit to accommodate the geometry of the wall that they're on, these tiles. I mean, why not in the future? I haven't ordered in all these tiles, you know, they're exactly where they're meant to be when the ship is built. Each one is meant to fit in a very specific place, and, you know, it might be a specific size and shown. Yeah, so we're spreading this pattern out. Spreading it out pretty well. We'll probably end up finishing the walls and then going back to the floor and repairing this, finishing the floor off. Then we'll probably do something of a detail pass across the whole thing, and that's probably when we'll update these machines as well and make them look really good. And yeah, we'll slowly build this into a bit of a fictional universe. I'm thinking something kind of battle-y, you know, where they're kind of at war with each other or something like that, you know. A little bit retro shooter style, shooting each other with laser guns and stuff, sort of thing. As well as, you know, these big ship fights where there's no laser guns for the ships, they just have to like melee each other. Like this, you see Satchel Claw biting down into the ship there. You can see you can go from working on one thing straight to the other as well in this mode. Gave me the option to paint in that then. Really cool way to kind of build up a concept, a universe concept, or anything like that. Stringing content art together in this way is just it's great. It's great for your brain to be able to see all the art that links to it. You know, that's part of why, like, I'm a big fan of batch rendering with the upscale technique, where I'll paint, you know, 4 paintings stuck together on the same canvas, and, you know, as I paint them, I'm kind of upscaling them to manage the detail of that. But yeah, I love the idea of batch, making things in batch and making things together in one big project, especially on one big canvas where you can see it all and work on it all like this. It's great. Exactly my sort of workflow. I'm not really a very linear workflow type of person. You know, it might even be unlikely that I finish this before I've started another painting, you know, just for the interest. I need that novelty and that, you know, different experiences, and then to come back and finish old ones, I think. But we'll see, because I'm determined to finish this one, and obviously with these streams, that gives me plenty of time to, so why not? Really need to prioritise filling my portfolio up as well, like I say. For a couple of reasons, but mainly just a spiritual one. I just really want, you know, want to have a proper portfolio with a decent selection of finished work in it, rather than just a big work in progress portfolio and nothing that I can really publish, which is kind of the state that I'm in now. I've got the streaming curse that I have. My nose being itchy as soon as I start streaming. Oh well. Yeah, we painted quite a few tiles today then, and I suppose that's probably what the next couple of shifts are. Excuse me, it's probably what the next couple of streams is going to look like. But you know, this is like a 45-minute stream, and you know, we'll probably be doing 3-hour ones when I'm doing them more regularly. As this year goes through, well, I'll be streaming a lot, so we'll have plenty of time to finish these long projects. I'm going to sign out of that one and probably be back on tomorrow.